Throughout the semester, the MPX program has introduced to me a variety of new ways to learn, uncommon to the learning system provided here at MPI. MPX is a very interactive program, which I feel has been very beneficial to me because as our class became more immersed in this curriculum, we obtained new skills as well as knowledge that I know I am going to be able to apply to my future in high school, college, and eventually my career. Throughout the year in both STEM and humanities, our class was required to create infographics. The purpose of an infographic is to graphically represent data, knowledge, or opinions in a clear, concise way. One of the infographics we worked on in STEM was centered around the disadvantages of conventional farming. The areas I felt our group did well on was providing the information and statements to help communicate the message as to why conventional farming was an unsustainable practice. I also felt our group communicated with each other well too, because our whole group was very inclusive about what every person had to say. And our whole group was very inclusive about what each other had to say. And they were always open to new ideas. They wouldn't shun any ideas. They were very kind. And if there were ideas that they disagreed with, they would put it down nicely and gently in a way that made the person who had broached the idea to understand why that idea wouldn't be sufficient enough to apply to the infographic. Each member tried to work diligently in his or her field of research, and I felt very grateful for that, because if in a group, if even one member doesn't function or work the way they're supposed to, or work as hard as they're supposed to, the whole group eventually has to face the consequences because of that one group member who decided that they wouldn't work hard enough, or that the work given to them wasn't something that they could focus their attention on. When looking back at the result of our infographic, I noticed that our infographic seems to be suffocated in words and statistics and statements and information that we provided, when what we could have done was we could have converted that information from words into graphics that would easily represent what the whole subject that our infographic was based upon. I also felt that we could have utilized our graphics in a way that they would impact the thoughts of the viewer, so that the viewer would be like, oh, well, maybe would be like, oh, this is such an interesting topic. Maybe conventional farming, or the way we have been farming now, is something that we should probably work to change, because it's been proven that that this causes negative effects on the environment. One of the skills I learned was operating within a culinary environment. So I feel that this was important to learn because cooking is something that appears routinely in our daily lives, and becoming more comfortable and more familiar with, the process of cooking and being able to function within a kitchen or an area or culinary area, it would be better to know how to apply skills and knowledge about that you had learned prior to creating to working in there about like food and culinary objects. So over Thanksgiving break, our class had to independently cook 2 meals at home that we had previously cooked at the KCC food camp. So I decided to choose a rice pilaf and a carrot cake parfait. And I felt the biggest challenge in completing this homework was overcoming the anxiety of using tools such as knives and an oven that have the potential to harm or injure me or those around me. So, like when I was cutting the pineapple, I got a little anxious because I had never cut a pineapple before, and I thought that the pineapple, the fruit, would take some sort of risk to cut, because I would have to use certain skills that I hadn't learned before in my life. So I felt more comfortable using the stove though, because I had, prior to doing this homework, I had used a stove, and I was grateful for that previous experience because it made me feel more comfortable around when I was boiling the rice pilaf. So what I could have improved on was not being so impulsive, because when I was making the rice pilaf, I read the first direction was to toss butter in the pot. I did that, and then when I got to the second direction, I realized I hadn't chopped the onions. So I went to go chop the onions, and then finally when I was done chopping the onions, I realized that the butter in the pot had taken this brownish hue, which I assumed was this burning color. So I immediately put the onions in the pot, and that is an example of why I should have prepared more thoroughly and read the directions and been more attentive to what I was doing and what I was supposed to do. One of the skills that I felt I improved the most was, and this is the skill that I feel I'm most proud of, is improving in oral and written communication. And my improvement was evident in the Heroes Project, or it was visible in the Heroes Project, because I needed to write a story, therefore I needed to amp up my writing abilities. When I was writing my story about my grandmother, I was forced to incorporate new vocabulary as well as artistic metaphors that would allow the reader to fully understand what defined my grandmother as a hero and why I chose to present her story to all these people at the exhibition. So also, or in both cases, oral and written, I needed to incorporate descriptive language into whatever I was trying to say or whatever I was trying to write, because when I was writing the story, I needed to use adjectives appropriately so that the reader would really get the depth of what I was saying in the story. And I needed to also give detailed explanations of the process we went through to complete this work. And orally, and when I was speaking to the parents at the exhibition, I would force myself to make eye contact with them because I needed to put meaning upon my words and to put emphasis on what I was saying so that my message to them was direct and clear. I also made sure to articulate my words when I was speaking. So instead of reciting my thoughts, I was communicating them. It was really nerve-wracking, but it was all worth it in the end because I gained more knowledge about how to speak in front of people that I didn't know, that I have never seen or heard of before. The third skill I learned was conducting myself and collaborating within an area of instruction. And prior to building our hydroponic system, we needed to slip in some experience with working with power tools and working with wood and construction material. So we had to build a work table. And we needed to familiarize ourselves with these tools so we wouldn't run into making our hydroponic system turflex and overwhelm. So I felt we did good. Beginning the project, my group members dived right in and they did everything that they're supposed to do. And I feel that one of the most important factors incorporated into the success of building our work table was collaboration, because each group member needed to assist the other in order to make sure that our whole group was able to function correctly and in the end produce something worth the time and effort put into it by every single one of our group members. I also thought we worked very diligently and produced good work ethic because no one decided to open up their iPads to play games or check notifications, because we all knew how imperative it was to utilize the time we were given and work as well as we could within 85 minutes using the hands of all 5 group members. So the second concept I learned was the importance of sustainability and how it affects our community. And our trip to H-Power was this incredible, powerful way of allowing us as student individuals to become more familiar with the concept of sustainability and what we as citizens of Hawaii can do about it, and how to help solve our problems that we have in Hawaii, because right now we are living quite unsustainably. So if we are able to change our unsustainable practices in the future, it'll be great, because sustainability is so important since it affects our future. At HPAR, I learned about how HPAR helps to not only sustain our community in the area of resources. I also learned how they economically affect our community. Did you know that HPAR helps to benefit our economy? And I also learned how HPAR helps to contribute to stopping our global warming crisis, because when put in a landfill and smothered with earth, trash will produce a gas called methane, and methane is very harmful to the surrounding environment. I also learned what can be done to assist our environment. There are a lot of things that HPAR does to help our community, and it's really incredible what they're doing, because since we live on an island, we need to be able to not let trash infiltrate our land or living areas. So what we learned at HPAR was that every day 10 trucks will go into HPAR, but only one will leave, and that one truck will be filled with ash. So that reduces our waste amount by about 9 times. So I felt that was awesome, because since we live on an island, we have a limited amount of land space. So we need to be able to sort of deal with our trash in a way that doesn't allow it to just take over our land and to make our environment unhealthy. Thank you.
Questions for Cami? Matt, question?
When you talked about the onions thing, I did the exact same thing with the onions, the rice. Instead of just forgetting to do the onions, I forgot the onions, so I cut up the onions really quickly, threw them in, got them all caramelized, threw the rice in, and then I put the little wax paper on top. And I'm about to put in this oven, and I'm thinking, what did I forget? Oh, I forgot the water. I thought I had myself way too much, just like big chickens. Or chicken
Thank
stock.
you. Okay. Cami, I have a question for you. Shh. You can go next, Leo. What was the most pleasurable part of this POL experience?
I think the part that I liked the most. I felt the most pleasurable part was putting together the Prezi, because it's very different from Keynote, and we use Keynote a lot, and it was the best that we used on Prezi that was in the Prezi software was pretty cool.
Nice. Okay, I'm glad you like the technology side. Leo, question.
I think you had a lot of good pictures and they worked well, and I was wondering if it was hard to get them. I also wanted to say that it's also when you said the word growth, because capillary above level of expectation.
Thank you.
So was it hard to get all those pictures that were relevant and stuff? Where did you get them?
I got them off of the class blog, or the humanities class blog, and I also got some of the pictures from my blog as well. And then I got some of the HR pictures from Google, and then the MidCap website.
Thank you, Cami.